I'm glad you're here with me today. Please like this video and listen to my story until the end. Leave a comment telling me which state you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. My name is Jessica Hayes. I'm 61 years old, a retired elementary school teacher from Portland, Maine, and for the past 8 months, I've been fighting the battle of my life. Not against cancer, not against poverty, but against my own son and daughter-in-law who tried to erase me from my grandchildren's existence. This is the story of how I got my family back. But to understand the victory you need, to understand how I lost them in the first place. Let me take you to Thanksgiving 2025, November 28th to be exact. I'm standing on my son Robert's front porch in the suburbs of Boston, Massachusetts. It's 6:47 p.m. I know the exact time because I checked my watch 3 times, trying to calm my racing heart. In my hands, I'm holding a pecan pie, my late husband's favorite recipe, the one I've been making for 40 years. The same pie I used to bake for Robert when he was a little boy, the one he'd sneak slices of before dinner. Through the frosted window, I can see warm light. I can hear laughter. The unmistakable sounds of family gathering for the holidays. My family. Or so I thought. I knock on the door. The laughter stops. Footsteps approach and I practice my smile. Maybe Robert will be surprised. Maybe he'll hug me and apologize for the months of silence. Maybe Emma and Jack will run to their grandmother with open arms the way they used to. The door opens. My son stands there, 35 years old, wearing a burgundy sweater. I don't recognize a wine glass in his hand. For a split second, I see the boy I raised. The child I tucked into bed every night after his father died. The teenager I worked double shifts to put through college. Then his expression changes. The warmth drains from his face like water from a broken glass. "Mom! What are you doing here?" Those 8 words. That's all it took for my world to start crumbling. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand why those words cut so deep, I need to take you back. 6 months. It was Emma's 10th birthday, May 15th, 2025. I remember sitting at my kitchen table in Portland, my laptop open for our scheduled video call. I'd set up the call 2 weeks in advance, always careful to coordinate with Robert and Jennifer's schedule. I'd learned over the years that spontaneity wasn't Jennifer's strong suit, and I tried my best to respect that. When Emma's face filled the screen, my heart swelled. She'd grown so much since Christmas. Her brown hair was longer now, pulled back in a ponytail, and she'd lost one of her front teeth. "Grandma Jessica," she squealed, holding up a drawing. "Look what I made for you." It was a crayon picture of a little house with a red door flowers in the garden and 2 stick figures holding hands. One tall, one small. Above it, in careful 10-year-old handwriting, "Grandma's house, my favorite place." "Oh, sweetheart," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "That's beautiful. I'm going to hang it right on my refrigerator." "When can I come visit?" she asked. "Can I come this summer? We could make cookies again, and you could teach me how to sew like you promised." Before I could answer, I saw Jennifer's hand reach into the frame resting on Emma's shoulder. My daughter-in-law's face appeared beside my granddaughter's, perfectly made up, as always, her smile tight. "We'll see, honey," Jennifer said, her voice sugary but strained. "Grandma Jessica is very busy, and you have summer camp, remember. But I want to— Emma, why don't you show Grandma your birthday cake?" Jennifer's grip on Emma's shoulder tightened slightly. I saw it even through the screen. The conversation moved on, but something nagged at me. That phrase, "we'll see." In parent speak, it usually meant no. Still, I pushed the worry aside. I chatted with Jack for a few minutes. He was 7, then gap-toothed and giggly, showing me his new superhero action figure. Robert appeared, briefly wished me well, promised to call soon. After we hung up, I sat in the silence of my kitchen looking at Emma's drawing on my screen. I should have paid more attention to Jennifer's tone. I should have noticed that Robert barely spoke. I should have seen the warning signs. But I didn't, because I still believed that being a grandmother was a right, not a privilege that could be revoked. I called Robert on June 3rd to plan my summer visit. We'd established a pattern over the years. I'd visit once a month when the kids were younger, then scaled back to every other month as they got busier with school and activities. It wasn't ideal, but it was something. The phone rang 4 times before he picked up. "Hey, Mom." His voice sounded distant, distracted. "Hi, honey. I was hoping to nail down some dates for my visit. I was thinking maybe the 2nd week of July I could help out while you and Jennifer are working, take the kids to the aquarium, maybe." Actually, Mom, July's not great for us. I felt the first flutter of unease. Oh, okay. How about August then? Emma has camp, and Jennifer's mother is coming to stay with us. Susan Morrison, Jennifer's mother, a perfectly pleasant woman who I'd met exactly 3 times in 10 years. We exchanged polite conversation at holidays, and that was it. Well, surely there's room for both of us. I tried to keep my voice light. I could stay at a hotel if the house is too crowded. Silence. The kind of silence that speaks volumes. Robert, Mom, I'll have to check with Jennifer and get back to you. Okay, I'm actually in the middle of something right now. Of course, sweetheart. You call me when you can. But he didn't call. Not the next day or the day after that. I left it a week, then tried again. This time he didn't pick up. I left a cheerful voicemail suggesting September instead. Still nothing. That's when I made my first mistake. Actually, if I'm being honest with myself, I'd made small mistakes before, the kind that seemed insignificant at the time, but that Jennifer had apparently been cataloging like evidence in a case against me. 2 years earlier, during a visit, I'd given Emma a chocolate bar before dinner. Jennifer had specifically said no sweets before meals, but Emma had looked so sad, and it was just one little chocolate bar. Jennifer had been furious, politely furious, in that cold, controlled way of hers. I'd apologized profusely, but I could see I'd crossed some invisible line. Then there was the time I'd gently suggested that Jack might not be ready for full-day preschool at age 3. Jennifer had smiled tightly and said, "Thank you for your input, Jessica, but we've made our decision." Looking back now, I can see how those moments added up in her mind. How each small overstep, however well-intentioned, built into a narrative about me. The overbearing mother-in-law, the grandmother who didn't respect boundaries. But at the time, I thought they were just the normal bumps in any extended family relationship. I didn't realize they were being used to build a wall between me and my grandchildren. By July, my calls were going straight to voicemail. All of them. I tried texting Robert. "Hi, honey, just checking in. Haven't heard from you in a while. Is everything okay? Read receipt 2:34 p.m. No response. I tried again 3 days later. Missing my grandkids. How are Emma and Jack doing? Would love to video chat if you have time. Read receipt 9:15 a.m. No response. I sent Jack a birthday package on July 22nd, his 8th birthday. Inside was a new book series he'd been wanting, a card with $20 and a letter telling him how much Grandma loved him. The package was never acknowledged. I checked the tracking it had been delivered and signed for. Nothing. That's when I started feeling it. That creeping sense of dread that something was fundamentally wrong. This wasn't just busy schedules or bad timing. This was intentional silence. I turned to Facebook, something I'd never been particularly active on but had joined years ago at the urging of my neighbor's daughter. "It's how you keep up with family these days, Mrs. Hayes," she'd said. I scrolled through Robert's page with growing horror. There posted July 24th, 2 days after Jack's birthday. "Best 8th birthday party ever. So grateful for all our family who made this day special." The photo showed their backyard transformed into a carnival. A bounce house. Face painting. At least 30 people. I counted them. Robert's college friends. Jennifer's sister with her kids. Susan Morrison front and center, her arm around Jack. Neighbors I'd never met. And me nowhere. Not in the photos, not in the comments, not even mentioned. I typed a comment 3 times and deleted it 3 times. "Looks wonderful. Sorry I missed it." Delete. "Happy birthday to my sweet Jack." Delete. "Wish I could have been there." Delete. What was the point? They knew I wasn't there. They'd made sure of it. I didn't sleep much in August. I'd lie awake in the house that had become too big and too quiet since my husband died 6 years ago, replaying every interaction, every conversation, trying to pinpoint the exact moment I'd lost my son. Was it after David died? Had Robert resented taking care of his grieving mother? Was it something I'd said at their wedding? Was it the way I'd held Emma when she was born, tears streaming down my face, whispering, "You're so loved, little one"? Had Jennifer seen that as me trying to claim her baby? I drove myself half crazy with questions that had no answers. On August 12th, I did something I'm not proud of. I drove to Boston. 6 hours round trip. I didn't go to their house. I wasn't that desperate yet, but I parked outside Emma's elementary school at dismissal time. I just wanted to see her. Just wanted to glimpse my granddaughter even from a distance. And there she was, coming out of the building with a group of friends, her backpack bouncing, laughing at something another girl said. She looked happy, healthy. growing up without me. Jennifer's car pulled up. Emma climbed in. I saw her profile through the window, so much like Robert's at that age. The car drove away. I sat in my old Honda Civic and cried until my throat hurt. That night I called my neighbor Dorothy Thompson. She'd been my friend for 15 years, ever since she'd moved in 2 doors down. Dorothy was 65, a retired nurse, and 3 years ago her daughter had cut her off from her grandchildren over a political disagreement. "Dorothy," I said when she answered, my voice still raw from crying, "I need to know the truth. Am I going crazy, or is this really happening?" "Oh, honey," she said softly, "it's really happening, and it happened to me too. Come over. Let me make you some tea." We sat in her kitchen until midnight. She told me her story, how her daughter had stopped returning calls after they'd argued about vaccines, how she'd been erased from her grandchildren's lives over something that should have been a simple disagreement between adults who loved each other. "Did you fight back?" I asked. "No," she admitted. "I was too tired, too hurt. I let them win, and I regret it every single day." She looked at me with eyes that had cried the same tears I was crying now. "Don't make my mistake, Jessica. If you love those babies, you fight. You fight with everything you've got." Halloween came and went. More Facebook photos. Emma as a princess. Jack as a superhero. The caption, "Halloween adventures with our whole family." 37 people liked it. Susan Morrison commented, "Best grandkids ever, so blessed." I stared at that comment for 20 minutes. Best grandkids. My grandkids. And I wasn't there. That's when I checked my bank account, something I should have done weeks ago. Automatic transfer to Robert Hayes, $500, September 30th, 2025. Automatic transfer to Robert Hayes, $500, August 30th, 2025. Automatic transfer to Robert Hayes, $500, July 30th, 2025. I scrolled back. 3 years of transfers. $5,400 per year. $18,000 total. I'd set up the automatic payment when Emma was born. For their education, I'd told Robert. For their future. He'd thanked me, hugged me, promised it would make a difference. He'd been cashing the checks every single month while cutting me out of their lives. The hurt turned into something harder, something hotter. Anger. I sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd graded papers for 30 years, where I'd helped Robert with his homework, where David and I had shared our morning coffee, and I made a decision. I wasn't going to accept this. I wasn't going to disappear quietly. I wasn't going to let my grandchildren grow up thinking their grandmother had abandoned them. I was going to fight. But first I was going to do something risky, something that might blow up in my face, something that would either begin to mend this rift or make it irreparably worse. I was going to show up at Thanksgiving. I booked a bus ticket to Boston for November 27th. I bought ingredients for the pecan pie, pecans, corn syrup, eggs, butter. The same ingredients I'd been buying for 40 years. I packed an overnight bag just in case they invited me to stay. I wrote a letter to Emma and Jack telling them how much I loved them, how much I missed them. I sealed it in an envelope and tucked it in my purse. And on November 27th, 2025, I climbed onto a Greyhound bus and headed to Boston with hope warring against dread in my chest. I had no idea I was walking into an ambush. I had no idea that the next 24 hours would change everything. And I had no idea that the real fight, the legal battle, the courtroom drama, the shocking rev. The bus ride to Boston took 6 hours. 6 hours of rehearsing what I'd say. 6 hours of imagining reconciliation. 6 hours of hope fighting against the knot of dread in my stomach. "Robert, honey, I've missed you so much. I just want to understand what happened." No too needy. "Surprise, I brought pie. Can we talk?" Too casual. This wasn't casual. "I love you. I love Emma and Jack. Please, let's fix this." Maybe that was enough. The bus pulled into South Station at 4:47 p.m. I took a rideshare to their neighborhood, a beautiful suburb with tree-lined streets and houses that probably cost more than I'd make in a lifetime of teaching. Robert had done well for himself. I was proud of that, even now. Their house looked exactly like it did in the Facebook photos. White colonial with black shutters, a wreath on the door, warm light glowing from every window. Cars filled the driveway, Robert's SUV, Jennifer's sedan, and 2 others I didn't recognize. I stood on the sidewalk for a full minute, clutching that pecan pie, gathering courage. Then I walked up the driveway and knocked. The door opened. Robert stood there, and for one beautiful second, I saw surprise on his face. Not anger, just pure shock. "Mom!" What are you doing here?" Behind him, I heard Jennifer's voice. "Robert, who is it?" I watched my son's face change, watched the surprise transform into something else. Panic, guilt, and then as Jennifer appeared behind him, something that broke my heart. Resignation. "I came for Thanksgiving, sweetheart," I said, holding up the pie like a peace offering. "I know I should have called, but I wanted to see you, to see Emma and Jack. I've missed you all so much." Jennifer's face appeared over Robert's shoulder. She was wearing a cream-colored sweater, pearls, her blonde hair perfectly styled. She looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine spread called Perfect Thanksgiving Hostess. Her smile was ice. "Jessica, this is unexpected." "I'm sorry for not calling ahead," I said quickly. "I just thought for the holiday—" "Robert!" Jennifer's hand landed on his shoulder, squeezed. "Tell her." My son couldn't meet my eyes. "Mom, this really isn't a good time. We have guests. We have plans." "I understand. I don't need to stay long. I just wanted to drop off the pie and maybe say hello to Emma and Jack. Just 5 minutes." "You can't just show up like this." Jennifer's voice was sharp now, the pretense of politeness gone. "Robert and I have been very clear about boundaries." "Boundaries?" The word came out sharper than I intended. "Jennifer, I haven't seen my grandchildren in almost 2 years. I've called, I've written, and we've chosen not to respond." She stepped fully into the doorway, now actually positioning herself between Robert and me. That was our choice, our right as parents. Behind them, I caught a glimpse of the dining room. Susan Morrison sat at the table, fork paused halfway to her mouth. Jennifer's sister was there too, looking uncomfortable. And then, movement on the staircase. Emma. My granddaughter stood on the landing wearing a navy blue dress, her brown hair curled. She looked so much older than she had on that video call in May. So much more grown up. Our eyes met. I saw recognition. I saw confusion. And unless I was imagining it, unless I was just seeing what I desperately wanted to see, I saw longing. "Emma, go to your room," Jennifer said without turning around. "But Mom?" "Now Emma." My granddaughter disappeared up the stairs, and with her went the last shred of my composure. "Please," I whispered. "Please, Robert, I'm your mother." "You need to leave." His voice was barely audible. "I'm sorry, Mom, but you need to go." "Robert, for God's sake, I raised you. I worked 2 jobs to put you through college. I was there for you when your father died. Doesn't that mean anything?" Jennifer's expression hardened. "What it means is that you think those sacrifices give you ownership over our family. They don't. We don't owe you access to our children because you chose to be a parent." The cruelty of it hit me like a physical blow. "Robert," I looked past Jennifer to my son. "Do you really feel this way?" He finally looked at me, and what I saw in his eyes was worse than anger. It was nothing. Emptiness, like I was a stranger, like 35 years of being his mother had evaporated into air. "Go home, Mom," he said quietly. "Please, just go home." The door closed. I stood on that porch for what felt like an eternity, the pecan pie still in my hands, and realized I was shaking. My whole body was shaking like I was standing in a blizzard instead of on a mild November evening. I don't remember walking back to the street. Don't remember calling another rideshare. Don't remember giving the driver the address of the cheapest motel I could find near the highway. I remember sitting on the scratchy floral bedspread that smelled like industrial cleaner and cigarette smoke that no amount of non-smoking room designation could erase. I remember setting the pie on the dresser. I remember staring at my phone. One new text message. My heart leaped. Robert. It had to be Robert apologizing, explaining Susan Morrison. "Jessica, I'm so sorry about tonight. What Jennifer did was wrong. If you need anything, please let me know." Not my son. Jennifer's mother. I turned off my phone and lay down on that terrible bed and stared at the water-stained ceiling until dawn. I didn't cry that night. The tears wouldn't come. I was beyond crying. Instead, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, maybe ever. Pure crystalline rage. Not the flash-in-the-pan anger of someone who cuts you off in traffic. Not the irritation of a rude cashier or a missed appointment. This was something deeper. Something that had been building for months beneath the hurt and confusion. This was fury, At 6 a.m., I went to the motel's lobby and poured myself the worst coffee I'd ever tasted from a pot that probably hadn't been cleaned since the Clinton administration. I drank 3 cups anyway, letting the caffeine sharpen my thoughts into something useful. I opened my laptop. If they wanted to erase me from their lives, they were going to have to work harder than this. Because I wasn't going anywhere. Not without a fight. I started with social media. Every post from the last 2 years I screenshotted and saved. Birthday parties I hadn't been invited to. Family gatherings I hadn't known about. Holidays that apparently included all our family, except me. I created a spreadsheet. Dates, events, people mentioned. A pattern emerged that was so clear, so deliberate, it took my breath away. I'd been systematically erased. Then I went through my phone records. 37 calls to Robert's number since June. 37. I downloaded the call log as a PDF. Text messages. I scrolled through months of one-sided conversations. Hi honey, how's everyone? Read at 3:42 p.m. Emma mentioned a school play. When is it? I'd love to come. Read at 9:15 a.m. Thinking of you all. Love you. Read at 7:03 p.m. 31 text messages. Every single one read. Not one response. I pulled up my bank account and downloaded 3 years of statements. Highlighted every $500 transfer to Robert Hayes. Calculated the total $18,000 sent to my son while he was actively preventing me from seeing my grandchildren. By 9 a.m., I had a file folder 2 inches thick with documentation. By 10 a.m., I knew I needed help, and I knew exactly who to call. Sarah Mitchell and I had taught together at Riverside Elementary for 15 years before she left education to get her master's in social work. We'd stayed in touch through Christmas cards and the occasional coffee, but I hadn't seen her in person for at least 5 years. Her office was in downtown Portland Morrison Family Advocacy Services. The name made me smile grimly. Morrison. Like Jennifer's mother who'd sent that text message. The only person from that house who'd shown me any kindness. I called at 10:17 a.m. Morrison Family Advocacy, this is Sarah speaking. Her voice, warm, professional, competent, made something tight in my chest loosen slightly. Sarah, this is Jessica Hayes. We used to teach together at Riverside. I don't know if you remember me, but I need help. I think my son is trying to cut me out of my grandchildren's lives, and I don't know what to do. There was a pause. Then Jessica. Of course I remember you. Tell me everything. And I mean everything starting from the beginning. We met at her office Monday morning. The space was exactly what you'd expect from someone who'd transitioned from teaching to advocacy, warm welcoming with comfortable chairs and bookshelves lined with titles about family law, elder rights, and mediation. Sarah poured me tea and sat across from me with a legal pad. She looked older than I remembered. Her dark hair was streaked with gray now, and she wore reading glasses on a chain around her neck. But her eyes were the same sharp kind and focused. Start from the beginning, she said. When did you first notice something was wrong? I told her everything. The unanswered calls, the birthday parties, the social media erasure, the money I'd been sending, and finally Thanksgiving, the way Robert had looked at me, the way Jennifer had positioned herself like a guard dog, the glimpse of Emma on the stairs. Sarah took notes, her expression growing more serious with each detail. When I finished, she set down her pen and looked at me directly. Jessica, what you're describing is called grandparent alienation. It's more common than people think, and it's absolutely devastating. The good news is that Massachusetts has grandparent visitation laws. The bad news is they're complicated and will need to build a strong case. What do I need to do? First, document everything. And I mean everything you've already started, which is good. I want copies of all the communications, emails, texts, call logs, social media posts. Second, we need to establish that you had a significant relationship with your grandchildren before this started. Do you have photos, letters, anything that proves you were an active grandmother? I nodded already, mentally cataloging the boxes in my attic. Birthday cards Emma and Jack had made me. Photos from visits. The quilt I'd sewn for Jack when he was born. Third, Sarah continued, we're going to send a formal letter to Robert and Jennifer. Professional, non-accusatory, but firm. We'll request regular visitation with your grandchildren and ask for an explanation of why contact has been severed. Their response or lack of response will be crucial. And if they refuse, then we file a petition with the court. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. Sometimes a letter from a family advocacy professional is enough to make people realize they're in the wrong. Over the next 3 hours, we built my case. Sarah helped me organize the social media posts chronologically. We printed call logs. She photographed my phone records showing dozens of unanswered calls. By the time we finished, we had a file that told a clear, heartbreaking story. A loving grandmother systematically erased from her grandchildren's lives for no justifiable reason. "I'll draft the letter tonight," Sarah said as I was leaving. "We'll send it certified mail this week." I paused at the door. "Sarah, thank you. I know this isn't your usual kind of case." "Jessica," she smiled sadly, "you'd be surprised how usual this is. I see it more often than I'd like, and I'm going to help you fight it." The letter went out on Wednesday, December 3rd. Certified mail return receipt requested. I knew Robert would receive it by Friday at the latest. Part of me, a small, desperate part, hoped he'd call, hoped he'd apologize, hoped this had all been a terrible misunderstanding that could be resolved with a single conversation. The larger part of me, the part that had seen the emptiness in his eyes, knew better. Friday afternoon, December 5th, 3:47 p.m. My phone rang. Robert's name flashed on the screen. My hands trembled as I answered. "Hello. What the hell do you think you're doing?" His voice was pure rage. No pretense of civility. No "hi, Mom" or polite opening, just fury. "Brad, I just want to see my grandchildren. You sent a legal letter to our house. Are you out of your mind? I sent a request for visitation through a family advocate because you won't return my calls, because you've cut me off without explanation." "You have no right," he was shouting now. "They're our children, our family, not yours. I'm your mother, and that doesn't give you ownership over my kids." I closed my eyes, trying to stay calm. "Robert, please, just tell me what I did wrong. Tell me why you won't let me see Emma and Jack. I've sent money every month. I've tried to respect your boundaries. I've done everything I can think of. This is exactly why." He exploded. "You're suffocating. You're controlling. You've always been this way, always inserting yourself where you're not wanted." The accusation stung. "That's not fair. The kids don't even really remember you, Mom. Jack was only 6 last time you visited. They've moved on. We all have." "Moved on?" The words came out as a whisper. "You make it sound like I died." There was a pause. In that pause, I heard something that changed everything. Jennifer's voice in the background. "Did you tell her about Arizona?" My breath caught. "Jennifer, shut up." Robert's voice muffled away from the phone. "Robert," I gripped the phone tighter. "What about Arizona?" Another pause. Longer this time. I could hear them arguing, their voices unclear, but the tone unmistakable. Then Robert came back on the line. His voice had changed. Lower, defeated. "We told them you moved far away," he said quietly. "To Arizona or somewhere. It was easier that way. They don't ask questions. They don't feel guilty. And we don't have to deal with your constant demands for attention." The room spun. "You told them I moved away. You lied to them. It wasn't we didn't mean. You made my grandchildren think I abandoned them. Mom, listen, do they know I've been calling? Do they know I've been trying to see them? Or did you tell them I forgot about them, that I didn't care?" I heard him breathing, heavy, stressed. Then Jennifer's voice, again clearer now. "Robert, hang up. Don't tell her anything else. This conversation is over." "If you contact us again," Robert said, his voice flat, now emotionless. "If you send any more letters, we'll get a restraining order. Stay away from our family." The line went dead. I sat in my kitchen phone, still pressed to my ear, and felt the last thread of hope snap. They had lied to my grandchildren. They had made Emma and Jack think I had abandoned them. They had turned me into the villain of their story. But Robert had just made a crucial mistake. In his anger, he'd admitted it all. He'd confessed to the lie. And I had proof now, not recorded but documented in my mind, ready to be written down the second this call ended. I called Sarah within 5 minutes. He admitted it. I told her, my voice steady despite the tears streaming down my face. He said they told Emma and Jack I moved to Arizona. He said it was easier that way. Sarah's sharp intake of breath told me everything I needed to know. "Write down everything he said," she instructed, "word for word while it's fresh. Date and time it. This is exactly what we need, Jessica. Parental alienation involving deliberate deception about a grandparent's whereabouts. Courts take that very seriously. December 15th, 2025. Sarah and I filed a formal petition for grandparent visitation rights in Massachusetts Family Court. The petition included timeline of the deteriorating relationship, documentation of unanswered calls and messages, social media evidence of systematic exclusion, bank records showing $18,000 in education fund transfers, my written account of Robert's December 5th phone call admission, character statements from Dorothy Thompson and Bill Crawford, my retired judge neighbor. We were requesting monthly unsupervised visitation, alternating major holidays, weekly video calls, an explanation from Robert and Jennifer for the estrangement. Robert and Jennifer had 30 days to respond. They responded in 7, but not through lawyers. They came to my house. December 22nd, 2025, 4:13 p.m. I was in my kitchen making dinner when I heard a car pull into my driveway. Through the window, I saw Robert's SUV. My heart began to race. He climbed out, followed by Jennifer, and then my stomach dropped. A man I didn't recognize carrying a briefcase. A lawyer. They walked up to my front door with the confident stride of people who believed they held all the power. I considered not answering, but that would accomplish nothing. I opened the door but kept the chain lock engaged. "We need to talk," Robert said, his voice tight with controlled anger. "If you have something to say, you can say it through your lawyer. I assume you've hired one." The man with the briefcase stepped forward. "Mrs. Hayes, I'm Richard Patterson, attorney for Robert and Jennifer Hayes. We'd like to discuss this matter before it goes any further." "There's nothing to discuss." Jennifer pushed forward, her face arranged in an expression of false concern. "Jessica, please. We're trying to do this the right way. Can we just come in and talk for the children's sake?" "The children you've been lying to about me." I looked past her to Robert. "Those children." Robert's jaw clenched. "Mom, you need to drop this court petition now, before this gets ugly." "It's already ugly, Robert. You made it ugly when you told my grandchildren I abandoned them." The lawyer cleared his throat. "Mrs. Hayes, my clients are prepared to offer a compromise. You may visit with Emma and Jack 4 times per year, holidays or birthdays, at mutually agreed upon times with Robert and Jennifer present. In exchange, you withdraw your petition and agree not to pursue further legal action. 4 times a year, supervised, at their convenience, after being an active grandmother who used to visit monthly." "No," I said simply. Jennifer's mask slipped. "You're being unreasonable. We're offering you time with them. You're offering me crumbs from a table I helped build. The answer is no." Robert stepped closer to the door, his voice dropping. "You want to play hardball, Mom? Fine. We'll tell the court you're mentally unstable. We'll bring up how you showed up unannounced on Thanksgiving. We'll talk about your obsessive behavior, your constant calls, your inability to respect boundaries. We'll make you look like an unstable old woman who needs to be kept away from children." My hands trembled, but I kept my voice steady. "You'll commit perjury to a court." "We'll tell them the truth as we see it," Jennifer said, her voice saccharine. "A grandmother who can't accept that her son has his own family now, who stalks us on social media, who sends threatening letters through lawyers. The court will see you for what you are, a lonely, desperate woman trying to force yourself into lives where you don't belong." The lawyer added, almost apologetically, "They'll also petition for full protection from contact. No calls, no letters, no social media interaction. If you persist, Mrs. Hayes, you could end up with nothing." I looked at my son, really looked at him. "Get off my property," I said quietly. "If you want to threaten me, do it through the court system." They left. I watched through the window as they huddled by the car, arguing. The lawyer looked uncomfortable. Jennifer was clearly furious. Robert kept glancing back at the house with an expression I couldn't read. When they drove away, my legs gave out. I sank to the floor in my hallway and let myself cry for the first time since Thanksgiving. Deep, wrenching sobs that came from a place of profound loss. But underneath the grief, something else remained. Resolve. 3 days before Christmas, something unexpected arrived in my inbox. From brightsky2015@gmail.com. Subject: I'm sorry, I almost deleted it as spam. But something made me click. Mom, I can't call. She checks my phone. I've wanted to reach out for months. Emma misses you. She asks about you every week. We told her you moved away because it was easier than explaining. Jennifer isn't well. After Jack was born, something changed. She became obsessive about control. She made me cut off my college friends, my cousin Dave. Now you. Her therapist once suggested it was postpartum depression that never got treated. It morphed into anxiety and control issues. She sees you as a threat to her role as the mother. Her own grandmother was cruel to her, told her she was worthless, competed with her mother. Jennifer swore no one would ever make Emma feel that way. But she's gone too far. I see that now. I'm just too weak to stop it. I'll keep sending these when I can. I read it 3 times. Each time my emotions shifted. Shock, then compassion, then anger, then confusion. Jennifer wasn't just controlling. She was sick, suffering from untreated postpartum issues that had calcified into something destructive. Robert wasn't just weak. He was trapped. But none of that changed what they'd done to Emma and Jack. I called Sarah immediately. Robert sent me an email from a secret account. Jennifer doesn't know. He says she has untreated postpartum depression and control issues, trauma from her own grandmother. Sarah was quiet for a moment. This complicates things. But Jessica, it doesn't excuse what they've done. Mental illness explains behavior. It doesn't justify harming children. So we continue. 4 days later, a second email arrived. Mom, Emma found your Christmas card, the one you sent that I hid. She cried for an hour. She asked why you didn't love her anymore. I told her the truth, that you do love her, that we kept you away. Jennifer was furious. She's threatening to take the kids and leave if I don't fix this. Emma wants to write to you. I'm attaching her letter. Please don't respond directly. Jennifer monitors the mailbox. My hands shook as I opened the attachment. A scanned image of lined paper handwriting in purple pen. Dear Grandma Jessica, Dad said you still love me. I knew it. I never believed you moved away. I tried to find you on Mom's iPad 6 months ago, but she has parental controls. I tried to email you from Dad's computer once. Mom found out. She yelled at Dad and made me promise never to do it again. She said you were trying to poison me against her, but I know that's not true. I remember baking cookies with you. I remember the quilt you made Jack. I remember everything. I'm sorry they won't let you visit. When I'm 18, I'll come find you. I love you. Emma P.S. Jack doesn't remember much, but I told him stories about you so he won't forget. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only stare at those words. I tried to email you from Dad's computer once. Emma had tried to reach me. My 10-year-old granddaughter had been brave enough to try and had been punished for it. I called Dorothy, then Bill Crawford, then Sarah. We have everything we need, Sarah said. Robert's admissions, Emma's letter proving she wants contact, evidence of Jennifer punishing Emma for trying to reach you. Jessica, this is a strong case. But Jennifer is sick, and she needs help. The court can mandate that. But these children need protection from her control. You're not destroying her. You're saving them. January 15th, 2026. We filed our formal petition. The evidence was overwhelming. Timeline of systematic exclusion. Bank records showing $18,000 in ignored contributions. Social media proof. Robert's anonymous emails source protected. Emma's letter. Documentation of punishment for trying to contact me. Robert and Jennifer hired Patricia Stone, a family law attorney with a reputation for aggressive defense. The preliminary hearing was set for February 25th. But first, the court ordered psychological evaluations of Emma and Jack. Dr. Rebecca Foster would conduct the interviews. February 25th, 2026. Massachusetts Family Court, Boston. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Oak paneling. Fluorescent lights. Judge Patricia Morrison, no relation to Jennifer's mother, Susan, presiding. Dorothy and Bill sat behind me for support. Sarah sat beside me, calm and professional. Robert and Jennifer sat with their lawyer on the opposite side. Robert wouldn't look at me. Jennifer stared straight ahead, her jaw set. The hearing began. Their lawyer painted me as overbearing. He described the traumatic Thanksgiving visit. He portrayed my legal action as harassment. Then came their testimonies. Jennifer spoke about boundaries, about how I'd given Emma chocolate despite her rules, about how I'd questioned her parenting decisions, about how my surprise visit had terrorized the family. It was masterful manipulation. She made herself sound reasonable, made me sound intrusive. Robert supported her narrative, talked about feeling pressured, about wanting to protect his marriage. But he couldn't explain the $18,000, couldn't explain why he'd accepted monthly payments while cutting off contact. Then it was my turn. I walked to the witness stand with my back straight. Sarah led me through my testimony methodically. My relationship with Emma and Jack from birth. The monthly visits that had suddenly stopped. The unanswered calls. The money I'd sent in good faith. Mrs. Hayes, Sarah asked, have you ever deliberately violated Robert and Jennifer's parenting boundaries? I took a breath. I gave Emma chocolate once 2 years ago before dinner. Jennifer had asked me not to. I apologized immediately. It was thoughtless, not malicious. And did you learn from that mistake? Yes. I've tried to be respectful of their rules ever since. What happened on Thanksgiving 2025? I described it exactly. The door, the rejection, Emma on the stairs. Did Robert or Jennifer explain why you weren't welcome? Robert said the holiday was for invited guests only. Jennifer made it clear I was no longer part of their family. Sarah presented our evidence. The timeline, the social media posts, the bank records, the phone logs. Then came the crucial moment. Your Honor, Sarah said, I'd like to present Dr. Rebecca Foster's psychological evaluation report. Dr. Foster was a woman in her mid-40s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She'd spent 3 hours with Emma and Jack. Dr. Foster, the judge said, please summarize your findings. Your Honor, both children show signs of what we call ambiguous loss regarding their paternal grandmother. Emma, the older child, has been given inconsistent information about Mrs. Hayes' whereabouts and availability. This has created confusion and guilt. Can you elaborate? Emma believes she did something wrong to make her grandmother move away. She's been told various stories that Mrs. Hayes moved to Arizona, that she's too busy, that she doesn't want to visit. This inconsistency is psychologically harmful. Jennifer shifted uncomfortably. And Jackson? Jack, being younger, has more fragmented memories. However, Emma has actively worked to keep those memories alive by telling him stories about their grandmother. The judge made a note. Dr. Foster, during your evaluation, did anything unusual occur? Dr. Foster glanced at Emma's parents. Yes, Your Honor. Emma asked if she could speak to me privately without her parents present. I granted that request. Jennifer went pale. And what did Emma tell you? Emma revealed that 6 months ago she attempted to contact Mrs. Hayes using her father's computer. When her mother discovered this, Emma was severely reprimanded. She was told that her grandmother was trying to poison her mind and that any further attempts at contact would result in serious consequences. The courtroom went silent. Your Honor, I'd like to play a brief excerpt from my recorded session with Emma with the court's permission. The judge nodded. Dr. Foster pressed play on a small recorder. Emma's voice filled the courtroom, young, uncertain, heartbreakingly honest. I just wanted to tell Grandma I still loved her. I didn't understand why she stopped visiting. Mom said she moved away, but I found old emails on Dad's computer. Grandma kept writing to us. She never stopped. So I tried to write back, but Mom found out and she was so angry. She made me promise never to talk about Grandma again. She said Grandma was trying to replace her. Sound of crying. But nobody could replace Mom. I love Mom. I just want to love Grandma too. Is that wrong? The recording stopped. I was crying. Dorothy was crying. Even Judge Morrison looked moved. Robert had his head in his hands. Jennifer was shaking. The judge called a 30-minute recess. During the recess, I saw Susan Morrison, Jennifer's mother, in the hallway speaking urgently to her daughter. Jennifer, this has gone too far. You don't understand. I do understand. You're becoming what you feared. You're controlling these children the way your grandmother controlled you. Jennifer was crying now. I'm protecting them. No, you're protecting yourself, and you're hurting everyone in the process. Robert approached me, his face haggard. Mom, he whispered, I'm sorry. For all of it. Why didn't you fight harder? Because I'm a coward. Because I chose the easy path. It's not too late. You can still choose them. When we reconvened, the judge made an announcement. I'd like to hear from Emma Hayes directly. Emma entered the courtroom 10 years old, wearing a blue dress, her hair in a careful ponytail. Brave, but scared. I smiled at her. She smiled back tentatively. The judge's voice was gentle. Emma, do you understand why we're here today? Yes. Grandma Jessica wants to see me and Jack again. How do you feel about that? I want to see her too. I never stopped wanting to. Your mother says your grandmother made her uncomfortable. Did you ever see that? Emma thought carefully. Grandma gave me chocolate once before dinner. Mom was upset, but Grandma said sorry. She didn't mean to break the rule. Did your grandmother ever make you uncomfortable? No. Emma's voice was firm. She made me feel safe. She taught me how to bake and sew. She made me feel important. Why do you think your parents kept her away? Emma looked at Jennifer. Mom was scared. She told Dad that Grandma would replace her. But nobody could replace Mom. She turned back to the judge, tears streaming down her face. Mom, I love you. But you were wrong. Grandma Jessica didn't want to take you away from me. She just wanted to love me too. And I have enough love for both of you. The courtroom was silent. Jennifer was sobbing. Robert was holding her. And Emma, brave, beautiful Emma, had just saved us all. Judge Morrison took off her glasses and looked at each of us in turn. This case represents a failure of communication and a tragedy of fear. Mrs. Jennifer Hayes acted out of trauma, not malice. But trauma is not an excuse for parental alienation. Mr. Robert Hayes failed to protect his children's relationship with their grandmother. Mrs. Jessica Hayes, while imperfect, has demonstrated genuine love and willingness to respect boundaries. Most importantly, Emma and Jack deserve to know their grandmother. My ruling 1, Jessica Hayes, is granted unsupervised visitation, 1 weekend per month, alternating holidays, weekly video calls. 2 mandatory family therapy for Robert and Jennifer Hayes, both individual and couples. 3 Jennifer Hayes must seek treatment for postpartum depression and anxiety. 4 6-month review to assess progress. This is not about punishment. This is about healing a broken family. August 2026. Emma and Jack come to visit every month now. We bake cookies. We work on the quilt I'm making for Emma's bed. We talk. Robert is in therapy, learning to stand up for himself. He and Jennifer are trying to save their marriage. It's hard. It might not work, but they're trying. Jennifer apologized to me. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't complete, but it was a start. Last week we had a court-mandated family dinner, all of us together. It was awkward, uncomfortable, but we were there, together. As I watch Emma and Jack play in my backyard, I think about everything we've been through. The pain, the fight, the cost. And I think about what Dorothy told me that night. If you love those babies, you fight. I fought, and I won. Not in the way I expected. Not with perfect reconciliation or a fairy tale ending, but with something more valuable: truth, healing, and the chance to love my grandchildren again. Families aren't perfect. They're messy and complicated and sometimes broken, but they're worth fighting for, every single time.